There is a mind-blowing amount of complex, hard-to-follow content swirling around about AI, so much so that for someone who is new to this issue, it can just look like another topic where it's just too complicated and time-consuming to engage with. But the reality is this: if you do a job where at least some of your time is spent generating or consuming written content at a desk using a computer, the likelihood is you can start saving time using AI today. And you could do so in a way that is safe for you and your business's data. Fundamentally, most of the AI tools out there today are different to many of the other digital productivity tools you might hear about in a really important way. I think it's vital for me to explain this for you to fully understand why AI should be something you start with pretty much immediately. If you've watched my show with Thurman Trotman, Microsoft 365 Business Boost, if you haven't, then go check it out when you're done here. You will have heard us talking about how bad Excel-based processes are for productivity and how you should be thinking about moving those processes to something like SharePoint or Power Apps. Thurman has some great training on using SharePoint, but there's still a learning curve. You still have to set it up. You have to get your team on board with the change, and you have to migrate what you've been doing. He's really good at minimising the effort you need to put in while getting you the maximum return. You should absolutely be doing this. It will help you to do your job better. But I also absolutely understand that many of you will shrug your shoulders because you don't feel like you have the time. This is how adopting new technology tends to work. The selection, training and adoption of that technology takes time, and unless you can find that extra time amongst everything you're already doing, you don't have the resources available to make that change. I speak to business owners all the time who know that every time they send out a quote with their old system or onboard a new employee to how they've been tracking their sales for the last 20 years, they are in fact wasting time. And they have to balance that small amount of transactional wastage against a larger amount of upfront wastage involved in making some sort of dramatic change. They are in a hamster wheel and find it really hard to jump off. So that's the issue with most technology. But that really isn't a problem with a lot of the AI tools we're seeing. Think of Microsoft's branding, Copilot. This is the best simple explainer of what this technology is. Whereas turning your Excel process into SharePoint is about you deploying a brand new, faster, bigger, shinier plane with all the cost associated with that, AI is about putting a Copilot in your existing cockpit to allow you to take your hands off the controls for a few minutes so you can focus on something else. AI tools like Copilot, ChatGPT, Bard, Copilot for Microsoft 365 have some amazing capabilities. But the most important thing to know about them is they're designed to give you back the most valuable resource we all have: time. So if you'd really like to take Thurman's course to learn how to move your old Excel process to SharePoint, but you don't have the time, maybe you should be trying out some AI first to help you jump off that hamster wheel for just a few minutes and take your breath and improve what you're already doing. So let's jump into a few examples so you can see just how easy this is to get started with and what you should be looking out for to ensure you're keeping your business's data safe along the way. But before we start that first demo, can I just ask you a favour? If you're finding this video useful, please give it a thumbs up so more interested people can get to see it. And it'd be great if you'd also leave a comment with your thoughts on it too. Also, if you want to see more like this, make sure you get subscribed. So let's jump into this first demo. As always, everything you're seeing is in my demo environment, so you're not seeing any private data. So here we are looking at Bing Chat, which recently has been kind of renamed Copilot. And you can see here that this is a really simple interface, and you may have already played around with tools like this, whether it be this or ChatGPT or Bard. And you can really ask the AI anything. You can see some examples up here, and you can get to here just by going to bing.com and selecting the chat option. However, you need to be careful because if you aren't signed in to your Microsoft 365 account, then you're going to get the version of Bing Chat where your data is not protected. Now you can see as soon as I jump over to an account where I'm signed in to my Microsoft 365 account, because I have a Bing Chat Enterprise license associated with this account, and most Microsoft 365 accounts that most small businesses would be deploying do have these rights to have this, I get a big change in that I'm now seeing this Bing Chat Enterprise, or you might just be seeing Copilot depending on where you're at with this. This is being changed at the moment to a slightly different branding. But what's really important are these green items that you're seeing on the screen, which are telling you that your personal and company data is protected in this chat. And this is vital because AI companies can take your data that you're putting into your prompt or data that you're getting back and use it for their training. But under Microsoft's terms, when you see this protected, then they're not going to use your data for that. So you can happily put your information in here knowing that you have that commercial data protection. And you can really use this for anything. You can use it for research, you can use it for generating text, you can use it for editing stuff that you've already written. You can see some examples here. So let's take one of these examples and see what it comes back with. So you can see it comes back with a table of the different trees. You can easily take this table and you can put it in Excel if you want to use it there. And it tells you where the information comes from. But it's not limited to just doing the things that it gives you examples. Let's see, if I take this prompt up here, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste this down here. And I'm going to change this to say buildings. And I'm going to say that I want to organize them by continent. And then it'll go along and it'll search. You see it's doing a web search there. And it's doing exactly the same thing. But now I have the world's tallest buildings organized by continent. And you can see it's referencing where it's getting that information from. And the sky is the limit with this. Whatever it is you're researching, whatever information you're looking for, if you would usually spend a lot of time searching around the internet for it, then you can certainly do it here. Copilot, or Bing Chat as it's been known, with the commercial data protection available, is available included with certain Microsoft 365 licenses and will soon be available to anyone using an Entra ID. So if you have Microsoft 365 and you're logged in, you will likely see that you have the protection that I just showed you. This means that Microsoft guarantees that any information you submit will be protected by them and not used for AI training or other purposes. So sharing business-related content is safe. You should, of course, always ensure that you're following your company's data protection policies and seek advice from your manager or IT department if you're ever unsure about using a tool before you go ahead and use it. So just jumping into another demo here, I've got the Microsoft Ignite Book of News loaded into my Edge browser. And this is a long document that gets put together at every major Microsoft conference, covering all of the various announcements. You can see just how much information there is here. So it could be a web page that's pretty difficult to digest. So if I come up here and I open up my Copilot sidebar here, you can see that automatically I get a page summary for the page that I've just opened. And if I want to find out about one of these announcements, I could ask about some other things, or I could ask about one that's up here. But let's just ask it, tell me more about the Microsoft Fabric announcements. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to search for that. So you can see that it's searching for that. It's actually going out onto the web now and finding more about information that's on this page. So it's giving me other links that I can go to. Or I can say to it, search this web page for more information about Microsoft Fabric. And in that case, You can see instead it says searching your page for information. So you can specify where it's actually going to get information from when you're making a search. And this can be really useful because depending on what you're doing, sometimes you can want the context to be just the document you're looking at, and sometimes you want the context to be, well, hey, I found out something on this page and I want to go and find out from other sources. So you can see now it's given me a lot more detail about what was announced at Ignite about Microsoft Fabric. So this could be a really useful tool depending on what you're doing, whatever web page you have open or a PDF document or something like that you have open on the left, you can open up your sidebar and you can interrogate it on the right. We can also do some other interesting things. If I come up to compose, then I can actually get this to help me with writing as well. So if I wanted to help me write an email, I can just put in an outline as to what I want here, and it'll go ahead and it'll create that for me. So this is a really powerful AI-based way to help you browse the internet, which can be really useful depending on whether you're doing research or you're creating something. Maybe you're creating some social media posts. It can really help you out and speed things up. It's really important that all AI users understand that AI can be wrong. Even when reviewing a document, it can misunderstand what's being communicated. I've seen this most in complex email threads where it can confuse who's involved in what aspect of the ongoing discussion. This is no different than giving a project to an intern, where a lack of experience might mean that the output is somewhat wrong, even with the best intentions. The flip side, though, is that interns often also knock projects out of the park, as does AI sometimes too. Just be careful to make sure you review things you're not sure of. AI is great for a first draft, but don't automatically trust it for a finished product. So here you can see I've got an example file of some sales data that you might see from a catering company. I've got some dates, event types, the number of guests as an event, revenue from that event, the cost of goods sold and the operating expenses, and then the profit. And you can see I've got quite a few rows of data here. I've got 366 rows of data in total. So there's quite a lot of information here to analyze. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to use ChatGPT with it. And so I've uploaded this data to ChatGPT, and I've just asked it, first of all, without any context, to provide me with a summary of what this data shows. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. Now, remember, we have moved from Bing Chat Enterprise to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's data agreement is different than Microsoft's. So I wouldn't want to, in this case, be uploading anything that was confidential information into ChatGPT. So just be aware of this, that when you use different services, you need to know what they might be wanting to do with your data. And you can see that ChatGPT starts by looking over the information and understands at a basic level what we're looking at, and then we can go ahead and we can ask some additional questions. So I'm now saying to ChatGPT, create a graph that shows the number of guests served per month. And ChatGPT will take a minute to analyze the data, and then it'll go ahead and it'll get on and do that. Now, if you've used this before, you may have seen this under advanced data analysis. We now don't need to do that. We can just do everything under ChatGPT 4, and the only reason this is asking me is if this responds better or worse is the first time I tried this I did get an error, so I had to run it again, and that will happen sometimes, but you can just persist, and depending on what it is and the volume of requests probably that they're having, sometimes we run into these issues. So you can see that very quickly it's able to produce that information, and now I'm going to simply overlay a line graph showing average profit per month. And again, it'll go ahead and it'll analyze, and in the background what it's doing is it's using Python to analyze this information and then create these tables that you can see, or the graphs that you can see. You can see there that very quickly ChatGPT is helping us to analyze our data, and something that may have taken someone a few minutes or maybe more in Excel can happen in mere seconds in ChatGPT. Now, the gold standard experience with all of this is going to be Copilot for Microsoft 365, which integrates seamlessly into your existing Office apps without having to use other websites or side panels, and it comes with extra features. However, right now it's only available to organisations that need 300 user licenses, but my expectation is we should learn in the not too distant future when it's likely to be available for smaller businesses. If the AI I've shown you already is a game changer, then that will really up the opportunity available to you. Getting started with AI is simple, but putting in place a plan to ensure you're getting the best out of it across your business is more complex. My new book, Who's in the Copilot Seat, explores this issue for small business leaders, focusing on how you can get maximum value from AI while avoiding the risks. Check out the link below to get more information on how to get your copy. If you can save yourself 5 minutes every day, then you give yourself back half a week of time every year. In a company of 20 people, 5 minutes saved every day means you've saved 11 weeks of time during the year. These little moments of your work being co-piloted for you can be the difference maker that lets you learn something new or find a consultant to help you with that project you've been putting off. If your business processes are confused or inefficient or your data is all over the place, AI isn't going to be the answer to the whole problem, but it could be the leverage that gives you the opportunity to pause to think about those other problems, and in many cases, that's all you need to get started. I have to thank Suhail Syed on LinkedIn, who wrote the post sharing an opposing perspective on this issue that made me think of the value of making this video. It's great that we have the opportunity as a community helping people with IT to have different perspectives and to challenge each other to enable us to think of new ways to help our clients or the businesses we work in. Thanks so much for watching the video through to the end. I hope it was useful to you. Good luck with your starting steps with AI. Until the next video. Bye bye.